Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one! Another one!
Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome aboard to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Thursday, January 5, from high atop the 18th fairway, the Golf Club of Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by our good friends, Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Just go to andymorehonda.com, and you will find the best in deals on new and used vehicles. And Endeavor Hospitality and their Wow Club and their great family of restaurants in and around the Bloomington area, like Baby's Market, where I will be tomorrow. Looking forward to being back out there. Chef JD, I hope will be out there. But BB's has got the greatest selection of meats around. They have a full-size bakery. It is just a wonderful place. And there's a special restaurant going in next door, man. So looking forward to that getting finished up. Welcome aboard. Dustin Schutte with us as always from Outsider.com. John, the producer, behind the wheels, keeping us between the white lines. On the program today, I believe Chris Denari from the Pacers, although they lost a tough one in overtime last night after winning 4 straight. Also, Matt Taylor, I believe, will be along. Kyler Staley as well from the Hoosier.com. So we got plenty to talk to. Dustin Schutte, how are you, sir? And I appreciate everybody jumping on already on the Andy Moore Honda hotline.
I'm doing fantastic. Great basketball game last night. The Pacers were on the losing side, but it was still a fun game. They overcame a 13-point third-quarter deficit. And then last night, man, I'll tell you what, Jim, the Big Ten wide open because Northwestern ran Illinois out of the gym. 13.73-60. I admittedly that game was a little too late for my taste. So I caught the box score and then some of the reaction on Twitter. There were a lot of people that weren't happy with the officiating. I didn't see it, but Illinois has got some serious concerns right now.
Yeah, another team that was at first considered a front runner for the Big Ten title, mainly because they lost a lot, but they gained a lot through the portal. But obviously, and Indiana had the problems of bringing guys in from the portal and just not gelling. 3 big ones, 2 of them are gone, and one of them it's taken quite a while to get acclimated to be a part of the offense, I think, I guess you could say. So it's not all that the portal's not always as good as it's cracked up to be.
Well, I think one of the things people get carried away with, and people mock this on Twitter a lot or other social media platforms a lot, and it's dead on. Just because a guy commits to your program through the transfer portal doesn't mean he's going to be a good player. He could have been a good player in a different system. He could have been a good player with other players around him. You never really know fully the situation. Now, obviously, we've seen situations where it does work out, where a player's just good no matter, and he can be a fit no matter where he's playing. But the idea that if our guy leaves, it's not that big of a loss because he went to the transfer portal. He didn't contribute much. And we get this guy who maybe he was an all-conference player in a lower league or maybe even at a big-time conference, but you don't know what went into that. Did that style, did the scheme, what were the players like around him? What was his role? So there's just so many factors that on paper, it looks good a lot of times when you're able to add those big pieces from the transfer portal. But as we've seen, you got to have a team. You can't just have pieces because sometimes it's a square peg in a round hole, and it just doesn't work.
I feel a lot. Square peg in a round hole. The Big Ten is definitely wide open. Yeah. There no longer is a favorite.
No, I don't think so.
And to be honest with you, for me, there will not be another favorite for a month. It's going to take a month. Well, it's going to take a month to see who's going to come out of January.
I don't disagree. Yeah, I don't disagree.
You've got to. There's no more getting. I mean, Purdue got off to a tremendous start, but once you get to conference play, things change.
Here's what's crazy, Jim. Purdue has a loss. They lost to Rutgers. Indiana has a loss. Illinois 0-3 in the Big Ten. Iowa 0-3 in the Big Ten. Maryland 1-2. We had kind of talked about those teams maybe being all at the top. Wisconsin 3-0, Michigan 3-0, Ohio State 2-0. So even though Michigan hasn't played particularly well in the non-conference, they've got some wins. They crushed Maryland a few. What was that? New Year's Day, I believe. And then they just had a 10-point win over Penn State. So they got a tough road test coming up against Michigan State here next. So it's going to be incredibly fun. But some of the teams that we thought might be in the middle of the pack right now sitting at the top. So, but there's obviously 17, 18 conference games left this season. So I think you're right. It probably will take about a month before we start to see the contenders separate from the pretenders.
Well, yes, because it's going to take that long for it to really shake out. Not just play, but who gets through injuries, because everyone always seems to get injured. Indiana's banged up still. They're missing Xavier Johnson, and you don't know what the complete health of Trace Jackson Davis is. Jalen Hood-Schifino, he sure seems to be over his back problems, the way he's playing. Well, we just have to find out. But yeah, looking in Wisconsin, they're one of those teams that you cannot count out every freaking year.
Yep.
And Michigan, they've taken a lot of grief, but sitting there at 3-0,
yeah,
that's an accomplishment. Ohio State. Now, Ohio State's a team that is going to be in the mix, I think. Michigan State. You know what? This guessing thing is basically because it's not guessing, but you go off of what you see.
Yeah.
But then what you see changes.
Well, we're going to find out a lot tonight, right? Because not only is Indiana on the road against Iowa, which obviously a lot of people hungry to see the Hoosiers back in action after 2 weeks off. Feels like an eternity since they played. I think, didn't you make the joke yesterday? It's been since last year. Did we get that one? Did we get that one out of the way? Okay, good.
Yes, one.
And then the primer for that though is Purdue plays at Ohio State. So that's a gigantic game right there. Yeah, that's a big game.
It's a big game for both, because if Ohio State wins that game, that'll put them at 3-0. Not only 3-0, but with a win over Purdue, one of the big boys. And I think that would give Ohio State the right to be called a co-favorite. But there's about 5 co-favorites right now, if you want to be honest with you.
The entire league.
So it's something that's going to probably change week to week. And it gives us something to talk about, something to argue about. Rutgers.
I know, it's fun, isn't it?
That's right. Rutgers. Haven't even spoken about Rutgers.
I think Rutgers has a legit shot to finish in the top 3 or 4.
Here's the thing about Rutgers. Rutgers is a team that seems like they get up for the big teams, and they're tougher. Their out and out toughness is just tougher than other teams, but they don't play like that every game.
They are very inconsistent.
And again, going back to what Mike DeCourcy said, you playing harder and playing your hardest there's 2 different things. If they played their hardest every game, damn it, they'd be a favorite in my mind, but they don't. And it's hard to. That's hard to. I'm not saying I'm not getting on them about it. It's hard to.
I think the problem with Rutgers is similar to sometimes what you see from Indiana, in that they are such a poor shooting team. Generally speaking, they have some good nights and they've got some guys who can knock down shots, but generally speaking, they're not a good jump shooting team. And so when they continually miss shots, and I mean, it wears you down defensively, because you've got to get after it every single possession, and it's just almost impossible to do that. So I think at times when Rutgers isn't shooting the ball particularly well, sometimes that then they have defensive letdowns because they're not getting the ball in the hoop. So that's when they really struggle. But in terms of defensive, this is why Indiana had a chance in just about every game they played last year, and I suspect they'll have a chance in just about every game they play this year, is because they are so good defensively. You can win a lot of basketball games on that end of the floor, even if you're not hitting shots. But when you're not making those shots, a lot of times you'll see that teams tend to wear down. You just can't – it's hard to defend 40 minutes if you're not hitting shots.
Looking at the net rankings right now, Wisconsin, although they're at the top of the Big Ten, they're 54th in the net rankings. Your second place team, Michigan, that's sitting at 3-0, that I said that looks like a little suspect. They're 81 in the net rankings. But Ohio State, that we just talked about, at just 2-0, they're number 9 in the net rankings. Purdue is number 7.
There you go.
You look down at Rutgers, dropping down. They're number 15. Indiana's number 19. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. Yeah. There's 4 teams that are in the top 20 of the net rankings right now, 2 in the top 10.
How many different rankings do we have for college basketball? I'm going to just say this right now. I hate it. It drives me nuts.
The net rankings is a compilation of things that's different than, you've got Ken Palm and this
Sagarin and all that jazz.
Hey, man, Sagarin's from Bloomington. Easy.
I'm just saying, I hate that there's 37 different formulas we have to use to measure college basketball teams.
Well, I agree in somewhat, but there's only some that I pay attention to. I don't.
Right. Well, the net is what the NCAA selection committee uses, correct?
Exactly.
Which is fine, but when you dive into some of these other things,
the net is a combination of things though.
Well, there you go.
It's a combination of things like some of these things that we speak of.
I'm going to be honest. I don't pay attention to much of that. I just watch the games. I don't pay attention much to the net rankings, all that stuff. I figure that's for the selection committee to do. I just watch the games and tell you what I think. I don't care about the net rankings. I don't care about what statistics are telling me or what the computers are telling me.
Man, you guys are lighting up the Andy Moore Honda hotline. It's good to see. I appreciate that one. How's Robin doing this morning there, Robin? I'm talking to you. You're Robin. That makes you Robin.
Oh, I didn't.
Come on.
Boy.
Whew, come on, man.
That one just floated over my head.
Come on, man.
Yeah, there we go. Sure. Can I be a different superhero? Prefer to not be Robin. Okay.
No,
well, that was short-lived.
That screws it up if you're.
My bad.
What do you mean it's different? What, like who? Like who?
I don't know.
Give me one example.
I need somebody to tell me the difference between the Marvel and the DC universes here.
God,
Come on, let's have some
fun. We've got 3 minutes to break. Are you kidding me?
I thought John the producer would break in. It seems like
comic
books would be right up his alley. Can you tell us the difference, between Marvel and DC?
Does that mean you think John the producer's a nerd?
No, my best friend loves comic books. I have no look. I have no.
Your best friend's not a nerd.
Well, I just
and there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm a nerd because I watch classic movies constantly. Constantly watch classic movies.
Hey,
big Disney fan. So, all right, we got to get down.
Maybe a little.
So, since I'm in here, since I've been summoned, Batman and Robin, Superman, like that collective, that's a part of DC.
DC, yes.
Marvel is like Spider-Man and basically all of the MCU movies that you can think of. I'm trying to think of Iron Man,
Iron Man.
Other DCs like Aquaman. The biggest difference I've been told is that the DC universe is more like sci-fi than fantasy, if that makes sense.
Not really.
You have a more otherworldly type of superheroes than the Marvel universe. Superman's obviously from Krypton.
If I take my glasses off, will I look like Clark Kent? Is that how that works?
Well, if you go put a wig on.
I come out here with a cape.
I don't think does Clark Kent have long hair?
No, but he has hair. He has hair, man. He's like a businessman.
He has a nice.
Let's give him a little toupee.
Yeah, there we go.
He's a reporter. Isn't he a reporter?
I believe so.
Yeah, he worked for the Daily Planet. We really are sounding nerdy today, aren't we?
Me and Clark, there's a lot in common between me and Clark Kent. We're both incredibly handsome. We're both writers.
You're both writers.
We're both writers.
So Dustin is essentially Superman.
Exactly. Somebody send me a Superman shirt. I'll wear it. And you probably won't be able to tell the difference.
Alan, haven't seen you in for a while, but hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Appreciate it. Says you watched the Illini and Northwestern last night. Seems to be bad timing for IU again this year when you look at Illini's schedule up to 19th. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but you can explain that one. Duke had their butts handed to them by North Carolina State. Yeah, the other night I saw that.
Yeah.
They got pounded by like 14.
Yeah, Rick Bosich had a tweet the other night that Louisville, I think, played NC State closer than Duke did, at least through the half. I don't remember what the final scores ended up being, but it was.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Hey, we got lots more coming up here. TJD releases a piece of fan mail through social media, which of course are just crazy people out there. Coming up next, our good friend Matt Taylor from the Indianapolis Colts. With more, brought to you by BB's Market, where I'll be tomorrow checking out Chef JD. Hopefully he'll have something good for me. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Good
morning,
Matt Taylor.
Boys, what's up? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How's it going?
It's going. We got 3 more days.
There you go.
3 more days. Today, no, 4, I guess 4 more days. I guess 5 because Monday's a wrap up. So
gotcha. Do you
5 more days of storylines.
Do you guys do the weekly podcast throughout the off season?
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. So that'll keep us going. And then we got a weekly radio show, and we're going to do some more stuff around combine and free agency time. So it's peaks and valleys. You know how it goes. It's peaks and valleys in the off season.
That's a good reminder. Jim and I wanted to try to get credentialed for the combine.
Yep, you should. Everybody else is. There's like 4,000 people there.
I got to set that reminder. I'm glad you brought that up, Jim. We got to try to get credentialed.
I know.
Okay.
That's I just always forget.
Well, I'm reminding you right now.
Good morning, Matthew. How are you?
What's up, big fella? How you doing?
I cannot complain, brother. I cannot complain.
I'm going to be down there. I'm going to be down there not this weekend, but next weekend, I think.
Well, make sure you remind me.
Watch out. He may try to get you to do the post-game show with him.
I'm out for the post-game show. I plan to have a few cocktails that day. So I'm probably out. Yeah.
Well, it's a weekend, so I know Indiana will have you know that Indiana is home every weekend this entire season, save one?
Wow.
Like the rest of the year, you mean?
The entire Big Ten Conference schedule. They are home every weekend, minus once. February 11th, they're at Michigan.
That's pretty good. I like that. Some big crowds.
Yes. I like it. That means
you're home
every weekend.
But that means you got to travel during the week.
But that also means I can't do anything on travel to any place else on any weekends.
That's true.
Yeah.
Stuck in B-Town.
Stuck in B-Town. That's a song waiting to be written.
Home of the bicycle movie, as Dustin always says.
Have you? Okay, has Matt seen this? What's it called? Blades of Glory or something?
No, it's called.
Shut your mouth! Shut your mouth!
Blades of Glory. Oh, he's removed them. All right, we're coming back from break, so we need Dustin to stay.
With an
No, we
exceptional
don't.
dining experience. With weekly specials, quick
He's
and
in the
tender
penalty
food,
box.
Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, and hello, everybody. Welcome in. It's Thursday, January 5 of 2023. Unbelievable. But that's where we are. We're unbelievably happy to be joined by our good friend Matt Taylor from the Indianapolis Colts. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com is here. And before we get to Matt, what did you call that movie a second ago? Just tell me what you...
Blades of Glory.
And now Dustin is in the penalty box because before that, he called it the bicycle movie, Matt. And what movie is he disrespecting?
Well, going off the context clues that I have, it's probably is it Dennis Quaid? Was it Dennis
Yes.
Quaid in that movie? Yeah,
Yes.
it was Breaking Away, right?
Yes. See, Matt was not even in the conversation. And he had no disrespect, like Dustin just completely disrespected Breaking Away. He called it that bicycle movie to start with. That bicycle movie. There's a couple of well-known guys in it. Dustin is allowed out of the penalty box now.
Thank you.
Oh, daggone it. I can't think of this guy's name, but
What was the movie that John Mellencamp was in?
oh, country something. Daggone it. Didn't he write that movie?
Wasn't
Oh my God.
Wasn't it like Falling from Grace or something?
Yes. I think that is it.
Yeah.
That's
Another classic, another Hoosier
Yes.
classic.
Yeah, and it's like, wow. You think you've made it big when you think you need to make a movie. and you're not an actor. When you have nothing to do with acting, but I think I need to write and direct and star in a movie.
That's how you know it, baby. That's
Yeah,
like that's a budget of $3 million right there. Make the Jim Coyle epic documentary right there.
Well, that would take about 3 minutes and about $30.
It would be highlighted by the sign being stolen earlier this year. I guess last year now. I remember that. That would be the highlight of the film.
That would be the opening, man. That's how you open that movie up.
There you go.
And then it would follow up with a visit knocking on the door with the camera. Hi, just wanted to talk to you.
There you go.
How's the family, brother? How were the holidays?
Family's great. Holidays were good. Spent New Year's Eve watching college football.
Was it not great?
Yeah. Oh, it was epic. It was great. I mean, I sat in a hotel room by myself and watched football. I actually had a couple of people from the road trip up there with me, but we hunkered down, watched some ball, and we were staying in Jersey City right across the river. So as the ball's dropping, we can hear and see the fireworks going off across, from Manhattan into our hotel window there at the Westin in Jersey City. So
Awesome.
kind of surreal to be that close, but to also feel so far from Times Square. But I was completely content and happy with where I was watching football and getting a good night's sleep.
Yeah. Plus, you can just, when it's done, roll over and be.
That's
done
right,
with it.
baby. That's right.
But that's pretty cool. Very, 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 very cool. Yeah. But how about the end of college football, though? I mean, normally we talked about this yesterday. The semifinal games usually end up being crap. But man, these were both epic games.
They were epic games, and there was like 6,000 points scored, so they were fun. But the games themselves took a long time to play.
Yeah.
But that was really, really exciting. The way Michigan was able to come back, the way Ohio State was able to basically exert their will for most of that game. But then, to lose it at the end. And I was really surprised that Georgia didn't go for two right there in that last second. You're right. Because, I mean, a field goal beats you either way, sir, or, at least, you set yourself up for a tie. I was really surprised to see them not go for 2 in that situation, but they knew what they were doing. And, that field goal reminded me of the Mike Vanderjagt field goal in the playoffs against the Steelers. I mean, that didn't even come close, man. That landed on Capitol Avenue, I think. So there was a lot of similarities in how those two games ended, I should say. But, really, really classic semifinal games, and hopefully the championship game can live up to that hype, or at least that excitement.
Yeah, I you know what? I'd be shocked if it did, Dustin, because I know that TCU is a team that none of us thought was going to be there, but they got in because USC just fell apart. But that's those teams can be really dangerous.
Yeah, well, I think that this is why when we had Mike DeCourcy on, we talked about this at length. This is why I'm excited for the 12-team playoff. Forever, everybody said that a lot of these teams don't belong in these situations, and nobody gave TCU a chance. Nobody gave Ohio State a chance. And TCU won, and Ohio State, as Matt said, they did everything they wanted against Georgia's defense for most of that game. So when you give more teams a chance, you're going to see some of these upsets. You're going to see some more great games. So I'm excited for the 12-team playoff. And I do expect that. I don't know that TCU is going to win, but I think the line's somewhere like 13.5, maybe somewhere along those lines. I think it's a double-digit spread, but I would be shocked if TCU doesn't cover that. I think that they've got enough offensive firepower to make it a really fun game.
Matt, what do you think, buddy?
I agree. I think it's going to be fun. I mean, I don't know. What is it? Is it 12? We're going to 12 from 4 to 12, Dustin? Is that it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited that there is an expanded college football playoff. I don't know if we need 12 teams, because I don't think the 12th best team can compete with the teams that finish in the top 3, if you will. But, listen, there's going to be more football, and I'm all here for that, right? Football is football, and people watch it, and thus I will too, because it's entertainment, and we just all love the game. But I don't think we need 12 teams to decide who the best 2 or 3 teams are. I think we already know that right now. As we're sitting here at a 4-team playoff, it's sort of like baseball. We don't need 162 games to figure out that the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Dodgers are the best teams in baseball, right? So it is what it is for me. I mean, the games will be on. I'll watch, but I'm okay actually with the 4-team playoff, because I think we get the best 4 teams, or I should say the best 2 teams in the national championship every year under this format.
Man, I wanted to shift gears a little bit and talk about Jim Irsay, because I think the past couple days we've seen, and we've talked about this on this show, we've seen what a human being he is. He sent out a tweet, I guess it was probably about a week ago, taking 14 Colts fans up to New York for Sunday's game on New Year's Day. I think giving them each like $2,000 and spending money to have a great New Year's Eve in New York, which that had to be an incredible time. And then as of yesterday, I don't know if this is still true or not, but he donated $25,000 to Damar Hamlin's fund after everything, or the charity that after everything that happened with him. And I think that was the largest donation. I don't know if that's still the case or not, but I know he's taken a lot of grief this year, and I'm not interested in really any of that, but just from I don't know that there's a better person, better human in ownership in the NFL than that guy right now. I mean, any chance he has to help somebody out, it seems like he's always there.
Oh, without question. I mean, there's countless stories that I don't think I'm at liberty to share. And there's countless stories that I know, and there's countless stories.
What's the one that you think that people know, or that is public knowledge, but may not be that well known, that you think is probably one of the bigger ones? Because I know there are many.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many. I mean, honestly, I don't think I'm out of school here by saying that, Jim is very in tune with the community. Right. The community relations department for the Colts is very busy, and it's very, what's the right word I'm looking for? It's very widespread. They spend a lot of attention on it, and Jim is reading, and things are sent to him. So between all of that, Jim knows what's going on inside the community. I mean, he knows the communities that are struggling, the people that are struggling, the organizations that need help. And again, I don't think I'm at liberty to say, but I mean, there's just countless stories of Jim either, doing it himself or donating anonymously to help people in need, kids that need new shoulder pads and football pads at a high school or a middle school, or, he'll read a story about somebody going through a tough time, paying medical bills. And he doesn't want it out there. And so I don't think I'm going to put it out there, but just things like that just go such a long way to either give people relief or to give people hope, to help them out of a jam, or to set themselves up for the future with monetary money, with help laying the foundation for something. Jim's got the biggest philanthropic heart. And I mean, listen, he's an owner of an NFL team, right? There's a lot of money coming in his way.
Right.
But he understands that, it's got to be about the community. It's got to be about, the city of Indianapolis first. And I go back to that story of Tony Dungy. When he hired Tony Dungy, the Colts had been in town for about 15 years, and they really hadn't at that point had a lot of winning, and there wasn't a lot of identity yet between the Colts and the city of Indianapolis and Hoosiers. I mean, still at that point, Indianapolis was about the Pacers and the Indy 500 and IU basketball and Purdue basketball and stuff like that. He wanted to brand the Colts as, the team's or the city's NFL team. So he brought in Tony Dungy, but he said, we got to connect on the field, but we got to connect off the field too. We got to get this done in the community, and we got to get people to trust us, and we need to give back. And I think since then, the Colts have done, the Colts are the biggest nonprofit, give back in terms of the city. I mean, they do so much for the community with donations and charitable contributions and things like that. And they don't expect anything back in return. I mean, I know firsthand the community relations department gets hit up hundreds of times a day for donations and tickets and please help us through this. And, obviously they can't help every single request, but they get to so many of them, you'd be surprised. So, Jim Irsay donating that $25,000 to DeMar Hamlin, wasn't shocked at all by that. I wasn't shocked at all. It was one of the biggest contributions to that fund, because Jim Irsay he's a steward of the Colts. He's also a guardian of the league. He understands how important the NFL is, its reputation, what it means to the culture of society, within Americans. And he takes it very seriously. And I think he just does a really good job of having a bigger perspective on football, what it means to people. But it's so much more than a game. And it means so much more to the people here in Indianapolis to have the Colts as their team in the city.
And I think everybody should know that the situation with the team right now is eating at him. He also wants to win as much as he is and wants to be all of those things you just said, and which are true. He also wants the team on the field to perform and to win. And I know it's driving him crazy. And it's a kind of a no man's land right now, with where they are. But the good thing is they get to go forward and try to do everything they can to change the fortunes of this season.
Without question. I mean, Jim Irsay is the most competitive guy probably in this organization. I mean, he should be. He's at the top, right? So he's going to have a great deal to say about what happens in this offseason. And I've been saying for a while now, I mean, as soon as that game's over on Sunday against the Texans, the biggest and maybe the most volatile offseason in recent memory for the Colts will start to unfold. It'll start with the search for a new head coach. Then it'll be all about personnel. And, I think, we talked about this last week. I think, for a while now, the Colts, you could argue roster wise on paper, you could say, well, they're only a handful of pieces away from really competing and thus they have been able to justify bringing in a handful of plug-and-play veteran quarterbacks. You know, with their record here at 4-11-1, I think it's been a team effort for them to get where they're at right now. I think they've got bigger issues. Well, I shouldn't say that. I should say they've got issues on top of quarterback now. So they need to find that franchise quarterback. They need to find stability at that position, and they need to find some athleticism, some mobility, some, you know, dynamic traits from their next quarterback. But they also have issues, in other places on offense. They've got issues on other places on defense. So long story short, I think the entire roster has contributed to this under 500 season and massively underachieving on the year. So I think there's going to be a reset to a degree this offseason with the roster. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in free agency. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in the draft. You know, we know they're going to be picking in the top 6. What are they going to do at quarterback? There's going to be a lot of things that are decided in this offseason that will affect the team for the next 5 or 6 years. I mean, given the contract of a rookie quarterback, if they decide to go that route.
Well, Matt, I will be at the combine, and I've been studying for the Wonderlic test, so I'm hopeful.
Good luck, pal. You're going to have the all-time lowest score.
Hey,
it's like your SATs, man.
Do you see that? Can you see this?
Chad, run fast.
There you go.
Think fast. Hey, think fast, run fast, baby.
Think fast,
run fast, baby. That's why I let my hair grow long. Yeah.
You run slower when you think at all, so that's where you're going to fall short now.
That's what I got to make sure that to do the steps right.
Well, you know, Jim struggles to chew gum and walk at the same time. So
that's exactly right. What's up next for you, brother?
Game on Sunday, and then it's we'll have our weekly off-season content. You know, podcast on Tuesdays, radio shows on Fridays. So we'll do that. And then, I was telling Dustin in the break, it goes peaks and valleys in the offseason, right? You got the combine, then free agency, then draft, and then off-season workout program. So it kind of comes and goes, but we'll stay busy. And that's the thing about NFL content, man. It never disappears. The thirst for it never goes away. NFL is really 365 because of the marketing strategy that the league has with all the different big events in the offseason. So, like I said, there's going to be a couple of weeks here and there where it's slow, but for the most part, it's pretty steady in the offseason with all the changes that the Colts are going to make here.
Well, brother, we appreciate you. Look forward to talking to you soon. And seriously, if you're down there, make sure you let me know.
Will do, man. I appreciate you guys. Be good.
Appreciate you. Matt Taylor from the Indianapolis Colts joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio this morning, brought to you by our good friends from Go Team, a proud part of the Endeavor Hospitality Wow Club. Make sure you join the Wow Club. Start earning Wow rewards today. Go Team for those on the go, whether it's you or your kids, your student athletes. Great tasting way to get a burst of protein. Available at BB's Market or online. GoTeam.com. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Man, I wanted to talk to him about DeMar Hamlin.
Oh, yeah, I'm surprised you didn't bring that up.
Well, we ran out of time.
Well, I just mean even beforehand.
Well, I don't know.
I guess there's really not much else to talk about.
Well, and I don't want to put.
Well, I mean,
I don't want to put people.
Only because
understand.
he's close to this, the closest that we have to that situation. So that's why.
Right. But I don't want to put. I thought about it, but I also didn't want to put him in a position because some people just aren't comfortable talking about it, and that's fine.
What he does, man.
You saw what happened
He's a
on.
professional. He's a professional.
I understand, but when you watch ESPN, I'm just saying, some people don't want to talk about it, and that's fine. So I didn't. That's why I talked about Jim Irsay donating to that. As opposed to
Mr. Softball. Let me lob his softball to you.
What do you want?
Let me lob this beach ball to you.
What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What?
Talk about DeMar Hamlin, baby. Yeah. Hey, we keep it real at Indiana Sports Beat, don't we, peeps?
See, apparently that's why you're Robin, not Batman, Dustin.
That's why I'm Robin. Let's see here.
Lovey. Yeah, no.
Talk about TJD here. Is that the next move?
Yeah.
That letter
When
from who is Tim Weaver, by the way? Who is the dude?
Nobody cares. Hold on. When is?
I guess it's a good point. I just didn't know who he was.
When are our guests scheduled?
You have 15 minutes until Kyler at 9:30, and then Chris Denari at 9:50.
Man, freaking Pacers almost got another one last night.
By the way, I don't know if we've ever solved this riddle or if I've ever asked it. Is it Denari or Denari officially? How do you say it?
It's Denari.
It is Denari.
It's Denari, yes.
Because I've heard
it's Denari. Chris Denari.
Chris Denari.
Good. Well, I've never said it right until now.
He's too nice to correct. But when I listened to the broadcast, I paid attention when I started when I started talking to him on this show to make sure I got it right. And he introduces himself as Chris Denari.
Ooh, I missed that one. Oh,
I saw that too. They all said I'm Alfred. Who's Alfred? That's the other comment next to it.
Who said that?
Right next, go one right down below. JTP is Alfred.
Right.
Philip said it.
And
right here.
Yes.
I don't know.
I thought you. Oh man, what? So obviously you did not watch Batman.
Are you talking to me?
So who are we talking?
Yes, I'm talking to you.
I never watched. I don't watch any of it.
Restaurant. I'm talking about the old show. Hospitality's Wild Club.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, January 5. Jim Coyle with you as always, as is Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com. Hope everyone's having a great day. Just finished up with Matt Taylor. Waiting for some other folks to come along here after a while, but we've got more to talk about. Earlier, someone said that we were Batman and Robin, which I appreciate, but I missed this one. That made Jim B asked, does that mean John, the producer, is Batgirl? Ooh. then yet someone said, no, JTP is Alfred then. And what did Dustin say?
Who's Alfred? There's
penalty box.
Go ahead and remove me too, because I don't know who Alfred is.
Penalty box. These guys, man, what is wrong with you all?
Okay, so who is Alfred? Let's get to the bottom of it.
He was the butler on the show Batman and Robin.
Oh, that's definitely me then.
He was an old butler, though, but a very reliable one. So yes, you would be Alfred. You were definitely Alfred. He was an older guy, but every now and then he'd have a part of their success.
He'd have a part of it.
Reading comments from an earlier conversation we were having about all kinds of superheroes. I guess we got off onto a tangent. Someone mentioned Lex Luthor. There you go.
Because he's also bald. Yeah.
That's right. But he's also a nemesis.
Yeah, that's not good.
That could be it.
Well, I mean, there are people that don't like me, so I could fill that role. I'm sure I could fill that role.
Yeah, I agree with that comment by Jennifer to not give the person. Well, actually, it's not giving them publicity. It's really actually saying their name should actually shame them. And you know what? I think this is a great lesson. I think his name should be said. He signed it. At least he had the balls to sign it. I'll give him that.
Which is kind of surprising to me.
But he didn't have the sense to not sign it because he's a moron. Now, actually, let me take that back. I apologize for that. There have been times when I've probably said that, some of those things about right here.
Yes.
I wish. All right. All right. So he identified himself and then said he blasted Trace Jackson Davis's leadership and that of the coach, Mike Woodson. He claims the Hoosiers celebrate after dunks, which they do, and 3-pointers instead of getting back on defense, calls the team soft and said it seems the players don't care anymore. Well, I've got to tell you what was said there that hasn't been said by a lot of people. I mean, this is not like a letter he's calling up and threatening and saying, oh, you're getting paid. Wait a minute. You're getting paid to play the damn game now. Rules have changed. Guess what? All the rules have changed. If you're going to get paid, then you're going to have to grow some thicker skin. Now, if that letter had been, I can come up with a lot of other things that would have made that letter bad. Whether there was an element of racism or just horrible language or any kind of threats or getting personal, anything like that, those things are out of bounds. But just to say those things, those are opinions. And guess what? If you can't take that damn opinion, you're in the wrong place. Are you telling me that they haven't been called soft by their coach? I've heard him say it. So what's the difference? Hold on. Are you telling me that their leadership has not been questioned in practice to motivate them? I would sure think so. What was said so far that you don't think has been said this year by probably someone on the coaching staff or in practice or by people like me or by just what is so out of bounds with that? Those things that I've said. Now, there may be something. Now, there was more. That here's where it goes off the rails, though. But those first things, okay, tough. Grow tougher skin. But see, he called Indiana players gutless quitters. He's not going to reproduce the entire letter, mostly because he can't read most of it. The guy's chicken scratch handwriting. But it's posted below. Now, first of all, since the fact that he's writing a letter tells you he's not on social media, most likely, or he thought that, or for some strange reason, he thought that he could just send this letter and it would not get the eye of social media.
This guy is on social media, number one. He's on Twitter. So here's the thing. This is when you come to one of those moments when you don't know what to say, at least me personally, doing this show, because there is an element to what you've said that is true. And that is that a lot of the things that were mentioned in that letter are things we've discussed on this show. And I think in our position, in our job, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to tell you what we see, give you our opinion, and it doesn't make it factual. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just our opinion, right? And I think where you cross the line, though, is taking the time and the effort to send that directly to a player is, to me, where it crosses the line. And to go into that much detail, and I didn't read the full letter because I didn't.
Let me ask you this. What if this fan is a fan who had donated hard-earned money to NIL that goes directly to people like Trace Jackson Davis? I'm just asking the questions. I'm not agreeing with this guy. I'm not saying he's right. I'm just asking questions, hard questions that,
So here's I think where I would differentiate on your opinion. We can question whether this team plays with the same toughness that they need to win a Big Ten title. We can question whether they've made
Has their toughness not been questioned? I know. Let's go through it one by one. Has their toughness not been questioned by virtually everybody across the board, and with good reason, because we haven't seen it?
We talked a couple weeks ago, Don Fisher, he talked about it too, that they've got to have some toughness. So, and Don's been a part of that program. I mean, as the play-by-play guy for 50 years, right? So he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he sees. He's at every game. He's courtside every game. And so he knows what he sees, and you take his opinion seriously. So you're correct in that. We've all questioned that. We've all questioned certain things. That's what we're supposed to do. But in terms of the NIL, I think you never know about. I'm never gonna really question a kid. Like, it's very apparent when someone in the athletic realm is not trying, not giving effort. I can't tell you that Indiana's players aren't giving effort. I don't think they're not giving effort. I think that they are playing hard when they're on the floor, but there's some things they've got to learn, and there's some things they've got to do differently. That just because it's not what you want to see from them doesn't mean they're not playing hard. Doesn't mean they're not giving 100% effort. It's just not the what you are expecting. It's not what you hope to see. And so that means you got to see some things change. And this is a team that has also, again, been injured. They've had some tough games. They lost to what we're finding out is a really good Rutgers team, or a really tough Rutgers team, I should say. They lost to probably the top team in the country in Arizona, and they lost to a really good Kansas team. I think that's where I have the biggest problem. If Tim just puts this on Twitter and says Indiana doesn't have a leader right now, yada, 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 but to me, sending that directly to a player crosses the line. And then calling someone a gutless quitter, like, I don't know that Indiana's quit in any game. There's been times where it looks like
I disagree with you.
Okay. Well, there's been times when I think they look defeated, but I can't question somebody's.
What's the difference between looking defeated and quitting? If you look defeated, that means you've given up.
Not necessarily. You can still play hard, but
then you don't look defeated. If you don't look defeated playing hard, I can tell you that. There's a difference between looking defeated and playing hard. If you're playing hard, you're not looking defeated. You're playing like you're still trying to win. And I'm not saying that it's okay to do stuff like this. I'm not. But again, I just don't think that there's enough there to get your panties in a bunch about. You know what? Grow some thicker skin. Again, how much money are you making?
Well, that is one of the
how much money? How much money do you think he's making? A pretty damn good living.
I don't know. I'm sure he's.
Well, I can tell you, it's very, very good living.
I'm sure.
It's a better living than
I'm sure he's bringing in. Yeah, I'm sure he's making some good money, and I don't have a problem with any of that. But it's also
I don't either. But do you have to? Now the rules have changed. But all the rules change. Now, again, that does not, I'm not saying it's okay to say crazy things. No, it's not. And you know what? I think that sending the actual letter was a way of just trying to remain anonymous, but he did sign it. He either had again, I don't know if it was the onions or just the bad sense or just, who knows, but I think that going public with that personally was more of a good, because, man, I'm not trying to be negative, but doing that, what kind of reaction did you know Trace Jackson Davis would get with that?
Well,
I mean, guaranteed. What was Hoosier Nation going to do? His fan base. What were they going to? How were they going to react?
I don't disagree with that, but
no. I'm asking you. I'm asking the question. How the reaction was guaranteed what it was going to be, which was
everybody was going to support him and throw that guy under the bus. That's
exactly.
Probably not was going to roast him, not throw him under the bus because he did something. But
so let me ask you though, if this is the reason, getting a letter saying that these things that are, you're not trying, you're not, are they really that bad? Have we gotten that soft in this world? But if you get a letter like this and you're making high six figures and you can't handle this, what the hell are you going to do if you were to get into a professional league making more? You think this is tough? This is nothing. This is nothing compared to what those guys go through. And again, to me, this is a very, very toothless letter. It's got no bite. And going public with it was done with purpose to pull the victim card. You want to prove that letter otherwise? You go out and you play hard first, then you pull that letter out. You go to Iowa and you win that game, then you pull that letter out. That's just my opinion on that.
I think
fired up. I didn't expect it to.
It did get you fired up, but that's we can agree to disagree on this. I just don't think that's something you send. Somebody made these are the.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Let me say.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm disagreeing with how it was received and what's been done with it. I'm like, you know what? Don't play the victim. Go out and prove it otherwise.
Sure, but here's what I would say is if you've got to know, if you are sending that letter, you've got to know that that's going to be a potential repercussion. You've just got to know that. So if that's something that happens,
maybe not. Some people aren't that smart.
Well, that is very true.
So we got to take a break. We'll get back to this. We've got to take a break. We went too long. Kyler Staley's waiting in the green room from thehoosier.com, and I don't want to keep him waiting anymore. Don't forget, we're brought to you by Remax Realty. If you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, reach out to our good friend Cheryl Sizemore, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Or if you're in the Louisville, Southern Indiana, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott County areas, Barbara Pop Real Estate Services has served those communities for over 3 decades. No one will get you in the home you want quicker, faster, or less expensive than Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or our friend Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. Back with Kyler Staley right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's a deal.
Hey, we need to talk about. Oh, fuck, he already got up.
Did I miss anything in that conversation?
Did you? How long were you around?
We need to.
Kyler's like, boy, I can't wait to hear Kyler's thoughts on this.
I'm having trouble figuring out if we should clip that, Jim, because I think it was a very passionate thing. Dustin's shaking his head no, and I think you could get clobbered on social media.
I think here's the thing: the people that watch this show and listen to this show know Jim, and know what he's about, know what we're about. So I think it's fine. But if that goes on social media,
and if someone like Trey sees it, you're in trouble.
Talk about not getting a guest ever again.
Yeah, especially because
he will get tagged in that if it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna clip it unless Jim just executive rides me and says I don't care. But
he's shouting from somewhere in his.
And then John's got to pull the Alfred, and he's got to do what he's supposed to do.
Be the butler.
Also, I
be
want
the
to
hero.
talk to you two. Now that Jim's, I want to talk to you two. How dare you guys not know what anything Batman? How dare you?
I don't know anything. Okay, so you know
and
a lot about.
And he's younger than both of you.
Batman is by far my favorite hero. Joker's my favorite villain of all time, and I think it's a disgrace.
Well, I'm Team Superman, and screw what happened in Batman versus Superman.
You guys want to?
That's two different. That's two different things. He's talking about Batman the show, man.
The old one, okay.
I didn't watch like a lot of the shows growing up. I mean, I read a lot of the comics, and obviously I watched like a lot of Dark Knight and all that. So
Jim, you're fine with not clipping that segment, correct?
Fuck no, I'm not fine with that.
Oh
okay,
boy.
See?
Okay.
So you want me to do?
No!
All right, just get ready. I mean, I'm just saying, or we're all just saying.
What did I say that was bad or wrong?
I agree with you. It's like what Dustin said. Your audience understands, but if it gets into the wrong person's hands, you could get clobbered.
I don't care. Who's the wrong person?
That's fine. That's all I wanted to know. All I want to know is that you didn't care.
But who's the wrong person?
A player.
A player. Here's the question. No.
I would tell any player to their face the same thing. If you're going to take money you're going to have to take some heat. And if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. It's that simple. The rules have changed. You wanted the rules changed. They've all changed in your favor. That doesn't mean you get to walk around with an iron shield around you. Tough. It's time to grow up, boys. Pull the pants up.
Here we go.
Selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwater. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Thursday from high atop the 18th fairway. The Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Joined now by Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com. Hopefully a much calmer segment. Kyler, how are you, sir?
Good. Just here to bring the peace. Bring the peace.
Peace, baby. Bring the peace.
No, I want Jim fired back up. Let's
don't worry. Let's get fired up on the game tonight. Let's do that.
Don't worry. That's bubbling under the surface. I'm sure we'll get back to it.
Perfect.
But tonight, Indiana travels to Iowa City in a game that is going to be a tough one to win. First of all, because it's against a decent team, but they have been struggling and they are without one of their third leading scorer, Patrick McCaffrey. So that should definitely help Indiana out. And I think that Indiana, they've got to read. We were just talking about the Trace Jackson Davis stuff. I'm not going to relive that, but they've got to prove that kind of stuff wrong. And this is an opportunity to do that, and almost a must win. And Iowa is also in almost a must win situation, even though they don't have Patrick McCaffrey. They're 0-3. They lose again. Boy, they're really in trouble. But Indiana also can't really afford to lose this game, because you look over at the ledger, Wisconsin, Michigan, they're already 3-0. And so Indiana needs to stay on the winning side of things, especially games like this that are great opportunities. This is almost a must-win to me because of the situation. They don't have Patrick McCaffrey. They're 0-3. They're reeling. You got to go in there. You got to just buck up and pay the piper and win.
Yeah, and I think every game moving forward is a must-win for Indiana or any Big Ten team that's going, competing for a Big Ten championship. Both teams are pretty desperate. I think IU's got, they got a lot to prove. The non-conference, for the most part, they did okay in the non-conference, but the games you look at, the Kansas game, for example, people are questioning their toughness. This is a game for them to prove that they are tough. They can go on the road. They can beat Iowa. This game's kind of lining up for a win that Indiana can easily get. Not easily is probably not the right word, but Patrick McCaffrey's not there. Iowa's struggled a lot. They haven't looked like the Iowa of old. They changed up Indiana changed up the starting lineup. Hopefully that gives them a little bit more of a spark to start off the game for them to throw off the first punch. Indiana, this is a very winnable game. Indiana just has to realize that. They have to realize the importance of this game. They could go on the road. They can't get this win. I'm just interested to see what this Indiana team looks like with 13 days off, with all that rest. They can either come in and look really rusty, or they can come in and look really refreshed, but we won't find that out until 9:00 tonight.
I feel like it can be a little bit of both on that, Kyler. And what I'm really interested in is I suspect the first, 6 to 8 minutes of this game, Indiana's going to struggle to find their jump shot, just because, for no other reason other than they haven't played an opponent in 2 weeks. Like, I think that's a very real thing. So what I'm most interested in seeing is, what are they going to do on the defensive end? And I've said this all week, so I sound like a broken record, but that's one thing that Indiana has, under Mike Woodson, tried to take pride in is they're on the defensive end. So when shots aren't falling here early on, can you defend well enough to stay in this game, not dig yourself a hole that you have to climb out of? And I think that's part of the thinking in starting Tamar Bates, getting up to a better start. But to me, I think they can look refreshed, at least on the defensive end. But then I do think it's going to take just a few minutes in this game at least to get their shots underneath of them, get their legs underneath them and start to see some shots falling.
Especially, yeah, because you don't know, especially with the health of Trace, you don't know exactly how he's going to be feeling. you're hoping within these 13 days, more than that, Trace has had off. He didn't play the last 2 games. So you're hoping he's back to 100%. Defensively, Indiana's got a lot to prove on that end. They have not looked like, even though the stats suggest otherwise, to me, they haven't looked like the defensive juggernaut that they were last year. I think they have got to have a little bit more passion on that end. That's Mike Woodson's bread and butter. He's always preaching about defense. Indiana's just got to be locked in at this point. Iowa's for the most part, is a good offensive team. They always have been. They're going to make you run up and down the floor. That's just their game. It should be a pretty fast-paced game. I think if Indiana can slow them down on offense, I think they have a really good chance to go on the road and get a win here.
Yeah, this is, Iowa's a team that likes to get up and down the floor. But again, without one of their scores, that should inhibit that somewhat. And it should give Indiana a chance to show a lot better defensive play. And that is the key to me. They have got to just get stops. They're going to have to contain Chris Murray and just not let him go wild and get beat by him, because he's going to be looking to have a big night. And usually one guy's not going to beat you, but if you let him get away, or if you get on a roll, that can be the case. But it's also going to be an opportunity to see how this offense is going to run with Jalen Hood-Schifino and Tamar Bates out on the floor starting in this lineup. I think that's a positive sign. I think this team with that lineup can be good. I actually like this lineup, and if they can just be efficient, they're going to win a fair share of games. They've got talent. And it's not like I don't think they can. I definitely do. I think they can go to Iowa and get this win now. And actually, I'm going to be a little surprised if they don't get this win, Kyler.
I think a lot of fans will be a little surprised if they don't win this, just because of how, the struggles that Iowa's had. Going back to the lineup, I really do. I'm starting to really like the idea of this lineup, just because, Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson, they're going to get double teamed, especially Trace. And you add in another more consistent shooter with Tamar Bates. Trace shot the ball pretty well, but he's still not that, that's not his first go-to move. It's more of a slasher type of role. Tamar Bates is going to be more of a spot up. I like it in that sense. Turnovers, I'm still a little worried about that. Jalen Hood-Schifino has struggled, with the turnovers ever since Xavier Johnson went down. They're going to have to limit that if they want to go on the road and beat Iowa. But yeah, the lineup situation.
Rebounding. They have got to not get out rebounded in this game. And that has been a huge killer. And I don't know if having a faster lineup might help them, because it's going to open up the spacing instead of it being so just packed in there. So hopefully Indiana can use that to their advantage too, with these quicker guys on the floor like Tamar Bates or whomever it may be. They're going to have to – they need to win the rebounding battle, especially against a team like Iowa who doesn't have a ton of size.
Yeah, and I've said this since last year. Indiana's a team that should never be out-rebounded. Never. Now, that could be different when you go up against a team against, like, Arizona, for example, who's just got monsters. But anyway, the rebounding, yes, that is crucial. And all that is, that's heart and effort. Mike Woodson said that in his radio show. That's all that is. You got to have pride on that end. You got to have pride in being like, we want to have the ball. Offensive rebounding would be great here, especially if Indiana's not hitting their shots. Defensively, they've got to win that rebound battle. They've just got to. I think Iowa might be a little bit more athletic than Indiana. I'm not for sure. I haven't watched a whole lot from them. So that's something you got to kind of watch out for. But rebounding, limit the turnovers, and, just making shots. I think Indiana can go in and get a win here.
And, what I'm really interested about too with this, Kyler, is toying with the lineup heading into this game. And I think, a lot of people on social media, and even I had talked about, I thought that it was time to start Tamar Bates just to see if he can provide you something in those first opening minutes. So you don't, sometimes they're not digging themselves a hole, but they're also not doing themselves any favors. They just don't start games very well. So I feel like it's a way to get a faster start. What I'm interested in, though, is to make that change during this period of time. I can't quite decide if it's a blessing to have 2 weeks and make that change and get him kind of accustomed into that role, or if it's bad because they didn't have that last cupcake game or, a mid-major team to kind of work out some of the kinks there. in that rotation. What's your take on it? And you know, what's Mike Woodson's thinking behind making that change now?
I agree with you. It is a little weird at this point, but I mean, you know, with Xavier Johnson going down, they were kind of forced to kind of mess around with it. Yeah. I like the idea of Tamar Bates coming off the bench just because of the scoring. He was by far Indiana's best scorer off the bench. I didn't, but at the same time, I didn't like Trey Galloway starting just because he's more natural off the bench. I think in the long run, at least until Xavier Johnson comes back, I think this is going to be a good thing for Indiana. Now, as far as the bench play, guys like Trey Galloway, which you know he's going to bring that spark. Guys like Malik Renew, Jordan Geronimo, those guys got to step up now. They've just been so inconsistent, especially I think both of them. Now you could see CJ Gunn. I could see him getting a little bit more minutes this year, or not this year, but you know, moving forward, just because Tamar Bates is inserted into that starting lineup, you need a little bit more scoring, and CJ Gunn is more of a natural scorer at this time. So I think it just comes down to people just got to step up. I like the lineup. I like the idea. I think it's going to provide a little bit more spark at the beginning of the game for Indiana.
And I guess to that point, one of the things that's been really interesting to me, because Don Fisher gets this stuff, obviously he's close up, he's there every week, and he said a couple times, made the comment, he doesn't know if some of the players on the team, and he didn't point to anyone specific, he's not convinced that some of them are bought into their specific roles, or maybe they're not, okay with that specific role. I feel like this 2-week period, and we talked a lot about it, you'd like to play a game in there, but I also feel like during this 2-week period, this is a time where you're going through practice, you're learning new stuff, but this is a time for Mike Woodson to say, this is your role. This is going to be your role. And this game is so intriguing to me, maybe more than if it was just a random game in February, because I want to see what this team does, because I think, look, the Big Ten's wide open. We talked about this, but Indiana's got to make some serious improvements if they want to win the league and do what they want to do in the postseason. So I don't know. Is this a time? Is there a sense of players starting to buy into their role during this 2-week period? I mean, I don't know the atmosphere or the attitude around the team right now, but is that something that has been addressed?
You would hope so in this situation. I think it came down to at the beginning of the year, Mike Woodson talked about all the time. He's still trying to figure out his guys. He's still trying to figure out what we have. I think, honestly, you just had too much talent on this team. If you really look at it, sure. You got guys like Malik Renew, who's used to being the guy. He's coming off the bench now. Now he has gotten some starts with Trace, which is great to see and everything. Jordan Geronimo kind of had to figure out his role a little bit. Is he a front court player? Is he a wing? You don't know. But I think going in with these 2 weeks, you're hoping that Indiana, the roster, their mindset's kind of, hey, this is what we got to do if we want to achieve our goals here. We got to play more like a team, which not saying they haven't played like a team, but, they just got to start meshing well together. If everyone knows their role on this Indiana team, they know what they have to accomplish. I mean, I think this team can win a Big Ten championship. No question about it. So you're hoping within these next 2 weeks, everybody's minds are refreshed. They have a game plan on how to attack the rest of the season, and we'll just see what happens if Indiana will be a contender or not.
Looking forward to it, man. And like I said, I think that this is a game that they could go in and win. They're just going to have to play their hardest. That is what it will take. Kyler, I can't thank you enough, man. Make sure you give Kyler Staley a follow at Kyler Staley on Twitter and, of course, at thehoosier.com for Indiana basketball news and recruiting. Go out and have a great day, sir.
Awesome. See you later.
Absolutely. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Speed Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Metalworks Brewing Company located in the old Function Brewery, right off of the square in Bloomington. And Metalworks Brewing is served in all of the Endeavor Hospitality restaurant locations, but you can stop by and enjoy it yourself right off the square, catty corner from Cabello Restaurant. We're back with more Indiana Sports Speed Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda. Right. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Now what?
Oh, we're getting back to this.
Oh, good.
Where was one I just saw?
But you got Chris Denari coming up, so you don't have to talk about
No. I know. Oh, he's up next.
Yeah.
And I'm out at 10:10, so.
Oh, you're lucky.
I'm aware. You can get on your soapbox for 20 minutes, though. How about that?
I don't like doing that. Nobody gives a crap what I have to say.
And I've got
just like
a
going
few
back and
Woody
forth
clips
with
if
somebody.
you want to.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
We'll pick it up again tomorrow.
Well,
With Zach
I'm
Osterman.
interested in
with
seeing-
Zach Osterman. With Zach Osterman,
there you go.
because he'll have a better. He'll have a different spin, and he'll be the
Probably
point
go 6
counterpoint.
minutes without taking a breath.
Allows me to go down and get another cup of coffee.
No, that's no knock on him. It's just the way that he talks.
Well, it's because he just has a lot of information.
In other words, yeah, that's what I was saying.
All right, I'll put this up while we're talking. I don't think donations, if you've spent money on travel to see a team play, gives a fan a right to send a personal letter to an individual player. Okay. What if that letter had said, I think you're great. I think you're the greatest in the world, and you're playing the best that I've ever seen. Is that okay? I'm going to assume the answer would be yes. But so then that tells me it's only okay if it says what someone wants it to say. As long as it is not, like personal name calling or, like I said, some other things that you can throw in there. There was none of that. There was just opinions. That was just simply opinions. He did nothing but list opinions. And the fact that, most people would have, that should be motivation. I mean, if that, what did he read in that letter that he has not seen across social media for a month? Please tell me, somebody. Is there anything in that letter that has not been plastered all over social media for a month by everybody? So why? But this one stands out because it was written. Oh, please. You break with that crap.
Right. Chris should be here in a few minutes.
And easiest way to avoid decision fatigue. You pick your plan and pick up at BB's Market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back. It is Thursday. Jim Coyle with you as always, Dustin Schutte as well. Here from Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway, the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Waiting for the arrival of Chris Denari to hopefully bring the fire extinguisher. Because we were talking about the Trace Jackson Davis letter. And I'm still, Donald, how are you, buddy? How have you been? Man, been a minute. Been a minute. I'm trying to find, because I wanted to ask this question. I saw this. There was a comment. 5 Left says, I don't think donations or if you've spent money on travel to see a team play gives a fan a right to send a personal letter to an individual. Now, I agree that there are, just because you do that does not give you specific rights.
Right.
But what if this letter had been saying, oh, you're great, you're wonderful, you're the best player in America? I'm sure everybody would have said, oh, that's great. But it didn't say that. It had a bunch of opinions that were opposite of that, but they were just opinions. This was not a letter that is using a number of things that would make it out of bounds to me. I don't know why he did it with a written letter. Maybe he couldn't reach him via social media. But it doesn't matter. Again, the rules have changed is all I have to say. And this is so benign. If you can't take this because everything that is said in this letter I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but what I am saying is, where have you not seen those very same things plastered all over social media by thousands of fans, by media members for the last month? There is nothing in there that I have not seen. And I guarantee you there's no way he hasn't seen either, but this is the one that needed to come out. Well, why is that? There's been a lot of complaints about his play, and he's making 6 freaking figures to do it. So I'm just not that sympathetic to this on this particular case.
Here's what I would compare it to. Okay. And maybe this is going to maybe this makes me quote unquote soft, but I'm going to add a different element to this, because when I covered the Big Ten, I got paid to do so. There were people that would criticize my work on social media, which was fine. Whatever. People can agree with my opinion. They can call me an idiot. That doesn't bother me. I also had people that would send me stuff in direct messages that I thought crossed a line. Some things you might just say, and it doesn't hurt anybody, but there were a lot of times I got messages and you take it more personal because that person took time to, what it feels like, attacks you, right? And so I didn't care for it. So if I got something that I didn't care for, I would put it out on social media. And whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent, does it make me a bad person? I didn't think so. Does it make that person a bad person? Not necessarily. They're voicing their opinion. But if you send me something that is criticizing me or critiquing me, I have the right to post that. Whether or not that makes it soft, I don't really care. I got paid to do a job. And as a member of the media, you also have to acknowledge, much like these athletes, you are open to criticism. You are open to people bashing you. But when I get bashed, I have a right then to respond and call you an idiot, basically. So I don't, and again, I'm going to back up a little bit of what you said, in that we have talked about a lot of the things that were in that letter. We talked about it. We talked about it openly. Part of that is our job to tell you what we see, to tell you where we think the strengths and weaknesses of this team are. That is part of the job. That's why people listen. They want a real assessment as to what's happening. We didn't.
But at the end of the day, these are just opinions.
I understand, but
crap.
I agree. But when you send a letter that calls Trace Jackson Davis a gutless quitter, that's personal.
He didn't call it. I think he called the team gutless quitters.
Okay, well, either way, that's not. So that's a personal attack.
Okay, again, but I'm going to say the same thing. It's been all over social media, and if you can't, it's.
No. Let me say that. Let me ask this question. If it had just, do you think it's that big of a deal? I did not read the entire letter. I'm just going to tell you. I did not read the full letter. But if it just stopped with, we don't have a team leader, we don't play with toughness, and it was those 3 sentences or whatever, is this as big of a deal? Or because it carried on for 6 paragraphs, is that why it's a big deal? I don't know.
He must have mailed it to IU basketball, because he said it starts out by saying, "I know they'll never give this to you," which is illegal, but I'm writing it anyway. My favorite player of all time is Calbert Chaney. I can't read all that. Not because he scored a lot, but because he was an awesome leader. You, on the other hand, are a horrible leader. Players got in trouble all the time, which means they didn't respect you or Woody, who also sucks as a leader. This is reading off this letter. I hated that guys cried to the refs after bad calls instead of keeping head in the game. Way too much celebrating after dunks, threes, instead of getting back on D. The team has been soft for years, but this may be the softest team yet. Far worse, you guys don't even seem like you care anymore. So tired of the team starting completely flat, and fan after fan says the look on their players' faces is that they'd rather be somewhere else than playing. I'd rather watch a bunch of walk-ons getting their butts kicked than the guys playing with zero passion.
I was possibly the only person who didn't want race back because he also sucks as a leader. Hope you two find some pride and be actual leaders. Otherwise, we'll end up 8th in the Big Ten. Again, you're all gutless quitters who keep getting humiliated. Take your NIL money and reimburse those who went to Kansas. Garbage.
And you don't think there's a problem with that?
I wouldn't send that letter, and I'm not saying that the person who did it is okay, but I'm just saying, if again, you know what you do with that letter? You do two things. You either take it and motivate your ass to not do that, because how much in there, again, I'm going to ask, has not been plastered everywhere. You either take it and use it as motivation, or you wad it up and throw it in the damn garbage. But it's not like, no, I just, what in here that was that bad? That this had to be posted on social media.
Well, you can, I mean, again,
I was just like, what in this letter was that bad that it needed to be posted on social media? Well, what in there that's being said by him that has not been plastered on social media already? Just give me one.
I mean, I can't tell you whether the team cares or not. I'm sure they do. There's nobody that wants to win more.
That's not what I asked. What I asked again was, tell me one example of something in this letter that has not been plastered already all over social media by multitudes of people.
Have people said that Indiana doesn't care, that the players don't care?
Yes! For God's sake, did you not watch the Kansas game? Jesus.
You can't tell me that
people talked about.
Okay.
Did you not watch that? I mean, yes, you're not following social media at all if you've not seen these things. That's what I'm saying. You have to have been completely oblivious to social media, because there's nothing on here that has not been out for. It's just, yes, I think this was an attention grab. I think this was an attention grab to divert criticism by the guy who's supposed to be the guy and who has not been the guy. And I would have, and if you're going to pull this letter out, I would have waited until you have become the guy, and then you pull it out.
I guess we can debate on how it should have been handled. I just don't have a problem with him putting it out there.
I do. I think it is nothing but an attention grab. I think it is I'm the victim. Look at me.
Well, we can agree. We can agree to disagree. If somebody sends you, I don't understand. Like, if somebody sends you something, why are you not entitled to then call them stupid? Like, if somebody sends me something, they're entitled to their opinion. I don't post every single thing that's negative about me, and there's plenty out there. And again, if it makes me, I don't care. You can disagree with me on this at all times. But if you send me something that is directly related to my job and how I'm doing work, and I want to post it, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to call you an idiot. And you can agree or you can disagree or whatever the case might be. So that's why I don't have a problem with. I don't think that's what
was done here. But we've got Chris Denari in the green room, or he's ready to go. Actually, go ahead and join us now, man. The Pacers, they have been over-delivering, underselling and over-delivering. Won 6 of 7 and 4 straight before they lose a tough one in OT last night, man. Daggone it, buddy. They are giving it for all the grief the Colts are getting. All that love is being transferred to the Pacers, I think, because people are just loving the effort from this team and the results.
Yeah, there's no question. Sorry for the delay. We got in late last night, so just trying to get organized this morning. You're right. Last night was tough. I mean, you get really greedy when you've won 6 of 7 and you've got a chance to get your 22nd win. They basically had the game. They had a 4-point lead with under a minute to play. I'd put the ball in Andrew Nembhard's hands every time, and he just made an uncharacteristic mistake where he got to the timeline and he should have gone farther, and he turned around to sort of give it to Halliburton, and Tyrese Maxey picked it off, went in, and that sort of changed the game. But you're right, and Dustin, you've experienced it at Gainbridge Fieldhouse this year. The atmosphere has been outstanding. The 4-game homestand, the energy in the building was as good as I've seen it in a number of years. So I expect that to continue, and I'm sure this team will rebound. The great thing about the NBA, there's always another game, and you don't have a lot of time to celebrate. You don't have a lot of time to get down, and the Pacers have another game tomorrow night against Portland. But you're right, Jim. I mean, they have played really well. Offensively, they've been really, really good. Tyrese Halliburton has led the way. Buddy Hield. I mean, over the last 7-8 games, he's shooting nearly 60% from three-point range. So it's been a lot of fun. Last night was highly disappointing to let that one slip away. But I think all in all, I think Pacers fans feel really good where the team is.
And I think one of the reasons why you feel really good is because of at least the last 2 games, and I know they've been strong all season, but the bench has performed outstanding. I mean, they were a big reason why they were able to beat Toronto earlier this week. And then, Jalen Smith came off the bench with 17. Benedict Mathurin had 19. I think they've scored over 50 points in each of the last 2 games, or at least close to there. So it's really encouraging. Rick Carlisle said it, I believe, in the pregame show last night. It's sometimes hard to play 10 guys and get consistent effort and get consistent performance. But the Pacers have found something with that second unit. And I think they've got almost like the perfect puzzle pieces for that second unit to come in. And even though they're maybe not as talented as that first 5, I never feel like the Pacers are losing anything when they sub in.
Oh, there's no question. And I think what they've done is they found Jalen Smith started the year as the 4, and they've made him the backup 5. And that's cost minutes to Isaiah Jackson. That's one of the reasons he was playing in the G League last night. But they figured out that while Jalen can play the 4, they're a little bit better when the game starts. And they've proven that now in the way they've started with Aaron Nesmith in the starting lineup. He's a better wing defender. And most of these teams are going small. I mean, there's very few teams that have 2 7-footers in the starting lineup. Now, the Pacers did that over the last few years, and I would say they're much different now if Jalen Smith is out there with Miles Turner than when it was Domantas Sabonis. But you're right. I mean, TJ McConnell comes in. He's the energy bug, gets everybody going. Benedict Matherin's having an outstanding rookie season. They nearly pulled off a 4th straight comeback win last night, because if you go to the final 3 games of the homestand, they had to rally in the 4th quarter, and some of those deficits weren't all that big. But last night's deficit was 13 going into the 4th quarter, and they took the lead really, with about, 2 to 3 minutes left to play. So this is a team that is very comfortable. If they get behind, they don't panic. And a lot of that, Dustin, is a credit to the second unit, because the second unit does a really good job, I think, at times of getting the team back into the game at certain points of the game.
Every time there's a Pacers game, Chris, and we get into the 4th quarter, in my home, I have the live. I don't know if you've seen the picture, but it's Dick Vitale holding Pepto-Bismol, and his eyes are wide open. That's how I feel every 4th quarter when I watch the Pacers. But it's worth it. They're very exciting. Obviously, we've talked about that at length. And I want to talk about – I don't like to talk about officiating. I thought the officiating in that overtime period was suspect. There were a couple plays that I thought some missed calls down the stretch, and I know Rick Carlisle thought the same, even though he may not have said it in the post-game presser. But I think what's positive about even in those situations is the Pacers still had chances to win, even when the calls weren't going their way. And I feel like in the past, when you aren't getting the whistle, we've seen some of those Pacer teams, not this year, but in previous years, shut it down. They weren't getting the whistle, and they still had a chance to tie late in the game, take the lead late in the game. So I think you see not even just being down in games, but when things aren't necessarily going their way from an officiating standpoint, this team never really throws it in. They don't get out of control.
Yeah, and that's not the MO of the team, and it's not the MO of somebody like Benedict Mathurin, who was the recipient of, I thought, of a few of those no calls. It will be interesting about 3 or 4 o'clock today because the game was so close and because it was an overtime game. There is an NBA officials 2-minute report that will come out. I'm going to guess, and it doesn't matter because it doesn't change anything with what happened. I'm going to guess that the 2-minute report will say there were a number of fouls committed by Philadelphia. That's just my guess. If you go back earlier in the week, DeMar DeRozan had a couple calls go against him. Chicago lost a couple of close games, and the 2-minute report said that DeMar DeRozan was fouled. Again, the Pacers have been the recipient of that in the past. They've been on the other side of that in the past. It doesn't do anybody any good. I do like the transparency, though. Yeah. I do like the fact that the NBA says, hey, this was a missed call. This was a correct call. So that'll be interesting to see. But I did think that there were, some physical plays. And that's the one thing that Benedict Matherin's going to have to figure out as well. And he's got to watch to make sure he doesn't complain too much. Because if you complain too much, officials are human too, right? They're going to treat you maybe a little bit differently. But to your point, Dustin, this is a team that very rarely, I can count maybe on one hand and not even get to a thumb that they've been blown out this year. Right. And the New Orleans game, the first game in Philadelphia, I think they lost by 14. And the first game in Chicago, they lost by double figures. But and maybe a couple of those games out on the West Coast, but they're usually in every game. And it shows of the 39 games they've played this year, 24 of them are categorized as clutch. And what clutch means is it's plus or minus 5 with 5 minutes to play. So 24 of the 39 games, they've been in a clutch situation. They've already won 14 of those. They only won 11 all of last year. So I do think it shows, to your point, the way that this team plays, and they're going to try to take it to the very end.
One of the things.
So what you're saying is they're not getting outscored 90-10 in the fourth quarter.
No, no. I mean, there have been a couple of games where it's not been what you would like, but for the most part, they're right there at the end of the game.
Right. And you talked about only a few blowouts. Well, one of those was you could probably categorize was against Portland when they made that West Coast trip. They really didn't have much of a shot in that game, at least from what I remember. I think they lost by 16 or 18 points. Now Portland comes to Gainbridge Fieldhouse tomorrow. What will we expect from the Trailblazers? What did the Pacers struggle with in that first meeting, and how can they kind of counter that and try to get back on the winning side?
Yeah, just like all teams, I think they struggle with Damian Lillard. I mean, he's an outstanding player, has great range. Anthony Simons is an excellent three-point shooter. This is a very good team. Chauncey Billups is the head coach. I mean, if you look at the West, though, just like you look at the East, I mean, there are so many teams that I would say are even, whether it's talent on the floor or it's record in the standings. And, I've heard many people talk. I've done this for 17 years. This may be as much parity as we've seen in the NBA in some time. And so you just got to pay attention to your P's and Q's, know your personnel. I mean, this is a team that will shoot a lot of threes, just like the Pacers. So it should be, I think, a up-tempo, highly energetic game tomorrow night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
Looking forward to it, man. Make sure you catch Chris Denari. How's everything else going with you, man?
Everything is good. Just had a road trip last night. Got back late from Philly. 2 home games, and then a trip to New York next week, and then 2 more home games, and then start a 4-game road trip in a couple of weeks. So it's been nice to be home after we were gone so much during Christmas week.
Well, go get some rest, my friend. We appreciate you beyond belief.
All right. Thanks, guys. Talk next week.
Chris Denari joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, the voice of the Indiana Pacers. Can't believe I said that. Brought to you by our good friends from Reynolds Family Dentistry down in Sellersburg, Indiana. If you're down in the southern part of the state, stop by and see Dr. J. Keep that championship smile. Keeps me going. Dustin, are you out after this
I'm
final
out.
segment? Buddy, I have a feeling that a certain story will be relived tomorrow a little bit at least.
I have an idea of it too.
It was fun, but a fun day. So go out and have a good one.
You too. Thanks.
We've got more Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming up, and we'll be back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a home
right. I've got 2 Mike Woodson clips if you want to use them here.
I'm just shocked. And Michelle, yeah, I'm sorry to see you go, but no one is enabling. Where was
what happened?
Comment? No one's saying the guy's not a nut job. No one's questioning that. Again, I would not have sent the letter. No one I know would have
the
sent the
comment
letter.
that you're talking about?
Oh, I'm looking for it. Here's the thing I said. This is my point. He didn't threaten anyone. Bruise some egos is exactly what happened. The only thing that got hurt were some egos. That's all this is about. The truth says he didn't cross the line. Thank you, Fred.
Yes, you Michelle Roux, don't leave.
I mean, exactly. What did Don Fisher say that's different from this? Just different semantics. He used different words, but you're telling me he didn't say the same things? The same things.
I don't think Don called them gutless quitters. This is kind of the part of it.
No, but but what did he say? He said a lot. Did he not?
No, I agree. He definitely was very critical of them.
Okay. Did you see any player take that to social media?
No.
Exactly.
I think there's a respectful way to do it, though, and then there's a way that crosses the line.
But do you know why they didn't do it? Because they would not get that response, and they would not get the response that they were looking for. I'm sorry. That's just and to do it right after Patrick McCaffrey, I think is really see that's what really is I have a problem with. He's basically trying to latch on to Patrick McCaffrey's problem and say, oh, this letter's what causes it. Oh, bullshit.
All right, here we go.
For beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hops' Brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Look at a little transfer portal news. Luke Fickell to Wisconsin has been doing a great job keeping guys up there, but a former Badgers quarterback decided to he's going to Iowa. So I'm sure the Greeks happy about that. They don't usually have a good quarterback there. So good for them. Man, did we have a lively discussion today about all we have to say is the letter. And, I'm not saying that the guy is not, that his elevator didn't go all the way to the top, that he doesn't have social grace issues. I'm not saying any of that. But what I am saying is I just didn't see anything in that letter that was over the line. Today, the rules have changed. Everything has been made to be in the player's favor. They can come and go as they please. They can go wherever they want. They can leave whenever they want. They're getting paid. They have free health care. They have free everything. With much is given, much is expected. Now, if this was a letter that crossed the line, if it was threatening, if it was racist, if it was a number of things, I would be the first one to say, nope, that's over the line. But there's not one thing in that letter that has not been plastered all over social media for the last month by so many people. And I asked this question of Dustin a minute ago, and I'll ask it just out loud. Why when Don Fisher was on this program a few weeks ago and basically called the team out in pretty much the same way, didn't use the exact same language. So basically all we're talking about are semantics here, right? The words. I'm not saying he said everything that's in that letter, and some of it you just got to throw away. You got to know how to read through the crap and not get tangled up. But did you see anybody taking Don's segment and complaining about that? Nope. Because it would not have gotten the response, the desired response. My personal opinion is that letter was posted just to get a victimized response. And the fact that it was posted on the heels of Patrick McCaffrey's declaration of taking an extended time off to get his he actually deals with anxiety, has been dealing with anxiety since high school. And so to post that with and claim that that's what causes mental stress for a guy who's supposedly preparing to go to the NBA? Really? Okay. I don't know that I need to say anything other than that. Everybody's entitled to have their opinion. Mine is just an opinion, but it is that of what it is. I did see a great comment. I like to find it to give them credit for. Well, here's one as well. Kenneth puts up. He said he openly agrees with guests and hosts on this show all the time, and he has never been unfairly criticized. That's right. We may not agree with you, but your opinion's your opinion. I may tell you that I think you're wrong, but here's the comment I was looking for. Robert put up, and I agree with this. What we're seeing is a generational difference in how individuals react to criticism. I agree with that because the desired effect was gotten. And that's okay. I personally would have waited and saved that. Like I said, I would have waited, went out, won some games, showed how that this letter was wrong, then busted that letter out. Not before that has happened, but it is what it is. And people can do whatever they want. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be negative. That is not the goal. I don't agree with the fact that it needed to be posted and that there was this damning language. I mean, like I said, you use that thing you do two things. You either take that letter and you use it as motivation to do what Mike DeCourcy says, play your hardest every game, not to play hard, or you wad it up and you throw it in the trash. That's just some really benign stuff. And I can personally tell you it is a generational thing because I heard things 10 times worse than that almost every day. In high school practices. Come on, guys. Jeez. But again, everyone has their opinions. Looking for some other comments that I wanted to bring up. Let's see. So, and again, or just letters out of question period. Should you not be able to send letters to players? I mean, I think IU gave him that letter. I think it must have been mailed to IU basketball the way it started. And I wonder if it was given to him. I'm sure Mike Woodson saw it first, or at least knew about it. Maybe he didn't, but I would think. Did he give it to him for motivation? I don't know. I don't know what we'll know, but either way, Jason says the world we live in today is one that you have to coddle and not criticize. He's a teacher and a coach, and it amazes him how things have changed and changed for the worse. Makes him sick. That's coming from somebody who's out in it, people. Out in it every day. Mike says life is hard. Life isn't fair. Life hits you hard, and not everyone gets paid 6 figures for playing a basketball game. I agree. And again, no one is saying that it's okay to do certain things. I'm just saying, to me, this did not cross the line. I don't care that it was a letter. I don't care what form of communication it was. I don't ever care what form of communication it is. It's the content and the context. I just do not think this content crossed any line. And not only that, I have repeatedly said there is not a damn thing in that letter that you can't find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times over already out on social media. So why was this one made a big deal? Are you telling me, as much as involved as he and all the players are in social media, are you going to tell me they haven't been seeing that stuff? Get out of here. There's no way. But again, opinion. That's mine. I'm not a homer, and it's hard not to say what you think or what you feel. And again, I'm not saying that the guy is sane. I'm not saying that anything positive about the person. I just didn't see a line crossed in the letter. That's just my opinion. So I know that some have disagreed. Kevin K-Bro says, I'd love to have K-Bro on about this. He wants to make sure someone reminds Indiana's managers to bring the jerseys to the game this time. Good call. Kevin, you got a memory like an elephant. We drove to Iowa last year together. He's down in Florida right now, unfortunately. Larry says, but Don is doing his job. It's not personal. Well, okay, so if someone like Don or me says it to a much, much wider audience, that's different than just sitting. I don't see. That's not Don's job, actually. Don's job is to call basketball games. That's all Don's job is. Don's job is to call Indiana athletics. When he comes on here, he is not representing Indiana athletics. He's representing Don Fisher. And I have about as much respect for Don as anybody, because people like Don and Matt and Chris Denari who come on here are in tough positions because they work for the institutions that they call for. And that's a fine line you have to ride, because you can't call, you don't want to blast your employer. And Don does a real good job of being honest about things when he sees it. And I have a ton of respect for that. And he does it in the right way. But like I said, he said a lot. Some of the things he said on here were in that letter personally, but that's that. Man, boy, this show took a turn today. Didn't expect that. I'm sure that I may get some blowback, but hey, it's not personal. It's just an opinion. That's no lie there, Brick. Appreciate you. But it's been a great fun day. I cannot thank everybody enough. Thanks a lot to Dustin Schutte, as always, of course, Matt Taylor, Chris Denari, And Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com and give Kyler a follow. They have all the information on Indiana news and recruiting there as well. Indiana has met their NIL $1 million match, by the way. So that's going to be good. They exceeded that. We've got more coming up tomorrow. Alec Lasley, Zach Osterman, at least. And as
we're going to try to get a visit from Jeffrey the Greek one more time as college football season winds down.
That would be fun as well. But I'm sure we'll have another discussion about this with Zach tomorrow. And I'll look forward to that. And then, Alec, of course, we get you caught up on all the things that are going on in and around Indiana basketball. Cannot thank everybody enough today for following us. We appreciate you as always. I hope everybody down on the river has a great day, because the ref is always the right call. ESPN 97.7. And if you're following along on YouTube, please give us a like. And if you haven't signed up and hit the subscribe button, please do that. Appreciate you. Other than that, I'm back tomorrow, probably from BB's, I hope. Until then, for John the producer, Dustin, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.